Supercell news was on BBC. So I was like, okay, let me take a read. And basically BBC.com, Supercell boss, we need to take bigger risks. So I read the article and Ilkka is on this. I don't know why he's on BBC talking about this. Very interesting audience choice and channel. But he is talking.
IPO.
Yeah, IPO, exactly. So he's, cited competition against games and apps. Like, that's good. So apps are competition for games. They have to compete against the entertainment value of the TikToks and the YouTubes. Talked about costs of games rapidly increasing. So this is, of course, very high level for audience that probably plays Netflix games. And talks about the time to market and how the bar is higher for games. And then he talks more about what's happening at Supercell. So they have 10 games in development at various stages, and that the teams are asking themselves this question: why would people play this game in 5 or 10 years? So, okay. Like, this is BBC stuff. And then he reiterated what Supercell's basically ethos is in making games, which is taking a quite complex game ideas and making them really easy and accessible to play and sort of a cartoony and fun. I think that's a very well put. That's what they do. He talked about AI. Again, Ilkka is all about AI. He talked about AI Innovation Lab in Helsinki. I'm quoting, we basically gave them free hand to do whatever they wanted in order to spark innovation. He cited that that's a massive success, and they are opening an AI lab in San Francisco. I wonder how much the person who runs AI lab in San Francisco is getting paid. I want to know that one. That must be some insane package, because like AI guys in San Francisco and gals make a ton. But anyways, that kind of sparked me to look at Sensor Tower and Supercell's numbers. So the first half of 2024 to first half of 2025, since it's roughly comparable. And we can see that the portfolio is a little bit struggling because last year was record year. So Boom Beach is the only game that is up, and it's up by 6%. So good job, guys. It's their smallest game, I think. Brawl Stars down by 20%. Clash Mini dead. Clash of Clans down by third.
Hold on, we got to pause on Brawl Stars because that has been such an important narrative of like end of 2024. I feel like all I was getting on LinkedIn was Brawl Stars coverage.
Yes.
They're doing a GDC tour on their turnaround. All of that legitimate. Flowers to them. But I would say this is now a period of silence, and the game is down almost half from where it was in May 24, where it was doing 80 million a month. It's now down to 40 million a month. Again, still very impressive. The narrative is still the same, but I would just say like that is a radical change. They were not able to sustain this monetization level. Monopoly Go, which I hope we'll cover in future episodes. Also, by the way, a little bit of slippage on those top grossing charts.
Yes, I don't know if it's worth mentioning, but now they've changed the leader of Brawl Stars. So Frank led it. He made that insane pivot when the game was basically looking like dead on arrival in soft launch. And Frank was the person who took it over as a lead. And I think he came from customer support side or something. It wasn't like directly in game development. And so he has done a truly heroic job, basically pulling it out of 2 to 3 nosedives. So he's on his well-deserved sabbatical. I don't know if he left, but there was just on LinkedIn, he was basically taking a sabbatical. So that usually indicates that he's taking a break before moving on to next project. So all the kudos to him. He did a fantastic job.
Since I don't want to get too far away from the point that both of you just made about the numbers being dramatically down, both Monopoly Go and Supercell and Brawl Stars have web shops. And one thing that I want us to be super careful about, like we love Sensor Tower, and they said themselves, Chirag said that they are trying to add in a tool that will help estimate web payments. I just want to be careful to say that anytime I talk to these people about web shops, they are over the moon and saying that the percentage of revenue coming from web shops, if we're just talking about revenue, is very, very high, like 30, 40, 50%.
That gets you a level explanation. That doesn't necessarily get you a change explanation. Like here, the movement is important, and you would have to assume some crazy changes in web store adoption over the same period to compensate.
But the changes are from a number.
There's one data point that is missing here. So what Phil is showing is revenue by app. But there's another thing that we need to look at, and that is download. So I don't have that graph there, but I looked at it. And Brawl Stars downloads have gone to a third to what they were when it started climbing.
Okay. We talked about this when Brawl Stars did their re-thing. It was a combination of actually adjusting the game, but they also did an insane marketing push, something they hadn't done in so it was short-term revenue. It wasn't the same type of audience that they've captured, so they just didn't stick around, right?
Exactly. But they also talked about that was organic downloads. Like I think Frank came out on LinkedIn saying, like, I'm just paraphrasing, but it was giving something like 80% of the downloads are organic. And you're like, excuse me? So you're just basically not attributing. But anyways, like, that's semantics. Overall, I would say the overall portfolio is down by about 20% if we're comparing first half to the second half. Of course, not looking at web shop revenue, so the actual amount can be smaller. But there's positive signs. Clash Royale is showing some positive growth right now with some good updates. Brawl Stars came down from the heights, as we talked about. Heyday, Clash of Clans, what are those, like 12-year-old games? They're pretty stable. Squad Busters is looking dicier than ever. Like dicey.
No, it's not dicey, Mishka. It's been dead. It's been dead for over a year.
No. There's a team in London that is working hard on it.
They're trying to revive it, right?
So until they give up, we're giving it a fighting chance.
This is it's in hospice right now.
Yeah,
that's what it's in.
So, but the overall story of Supercell, like, I'm just tying down the article. Like, this is insanely profitable company. They're making like 121 million in net revenue a month on in-app purchases alone. That's insane. And I think just reading through this article, even though it's high level, I think Ilka's doing absolutely the right thing. So the company is, to some extent, kind of living off dividends because these games they're generating revenue are old, and he's definitely pushing towards these new hungry elements like the AI lab. So bringing people outside the organization to come something new. Spark Labs, which nobody talks about anymore. It was I think the new cohort is starting after the summer. After the brief and short 3-day long summer of Finland, then the Spark Lab starts with a new set of people. That's also a way to bring in hungry folks who are new to Supercell, new to Process, who just focus on building something new. It was interesting because I read this article after I left I don't even know if I can talk about the event. But anyways, around the event, there were many people from various different companies who work or have worked or affiliated with Supercell in somehow. And this was before I read the article. And some of the folks were talking about the Supercell work-life balance. And this is, again, hearsay. I do not know this, so don't attack me. But folks were talking about this, that Supercell are, very work-life balance focused. It's 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. You got the long holidays. The office is basically shut down for June. They have a lot of offsites. We're talking about 2 per quarter, usually per person. A lot of the leadership is working remotely. Like, you got the CFO in Austin, you got the live ops head in Stockholm, you got marketing in London, you got people head in San Francisco. So you talk to people from Supercell and they're absolutely loving it because it's a great company to work for. And then you talk to somebody who's coming from Dream or HoYoverse, they might have like a PTSD, especially people from HoYoverse, which is like 997 culture. It's like hardcore even for Chinese. So what I'm trying to get at is it's a super profitable company, which games that are producing most of the revenue are shipped 10 years or more ago. And I think they're doing absolutely the right thing by shaking up the organization, by bringing people from, like, not even from outside, but almost like creating these cells inside the company, whether it's the AI cells or the Spark cells, to bring that hunger, because it feels like life is excellent, and I would definitely choose Supercell as a place to work than anybody else.
What the fuck is this take? Wait, is this sarcasm?
No.
What?
Well, think about it. Like, I think about it from the culture perspective.
They're getting more chill and they're about to IPO and their revenue's down. Where are we cheering Ilka for this? He's getting distracted by these stupid little experiments rather than optimizing the high profile.
Here's what I'm trying to say. It's like really hard to change the culture that they have right now. And so they're bringing sort of like these auxiliary teams, how it feels, like the Spark Labs and the AI Labs.
Yes, that is running away from your culture problems. That is not dealing with your culture problems. To give you an example, so at GDC, there was a lot of Supercellians that were there. And normally you could just go to Supercell, you could go to GDC whenever you want, just put it on the company bill. But now that the company has grown to such a big size, they have to make choices because resources are limited. So then how are you going to choose who goes to GDC and who doesn't? Well, now you need rules, right? And now you got to pick and choose. Now who gets to go, who doesn't get to go? And now who's going to have resources and who isn't going to have resources, right? I want $100 million more for my Brawl Stars marketing budget. Well, we can't really do that anymore, right? Because all these other people. So now you start to get into the classic hierarchy of resource control and management. And the thing we haven't seen from Ilka is how he's going to evolve Supercell to deal with the challenges of a modern corporation. We've heard nothing. And so he runs away to Spark Labs into AI.
No. He was out there talking about this bullshit 2 years ago, right? Like he had this huge thing where we're changing the culture, we're doing everything. They haven't done shit.
It's a cute internship program.
Yeah. Look, at the end of the day, when you're this big, you actually wrote it very well. Scaling is not a risk-loving environment, right? Like when you're at this level of success, like to get you to the next level of success is a completely different calculus, you know? Like you can't be doing this kind of bullshit, flippy-floppy nonsense, right? And then this is a big debate that I had with Katla and Alexander, which him and I completely disagree on this point. When you're at this scale, innovation is tough, right? What they should be doing is leveraging their brand and bringing games to the masses that are already successful. So do the World of Warcraft type thing, like incrementally improve things. You know, Clash Royale was kind of similar to that as well. Like that's what they should be focusing on. Forget innovation and just starting from scratch. Like leverage what is successful and make it better. You know, like at this scale, you can't do this shit. Okay, I'm just saying, like, it's just not going to work, right?
But I think they have been doing it on a product sense. Like, we haven't talked about it, but Clash of Clans and Clash Royale got, like, rid of timers. Those are huge economy changes that I want to revisit. And those are storied franchises that are radically changing fundamental mechanics, right? He's not talking about that. He's not celebrating that.
Let me just break this down. I don't mean to be a dick, but Ilka's the wrong guy right now, right? They need someone new that actually can change the way they work. Right? If they want to continue to grow and beyond that, if they want to continue to do what they're doing, Ilka is fine. Like they're just not going to grow. They're just going to be basically flatline, right? Like forever.
I disagree. I disagree on that.
I mean, everything, you know, I was joking with you, like what different are you going to say? I feel like every time we talk about Supercell, we're saying exactly the same thing. Yes. What is new about their approach over the last 2 years that I've been on this podcast? Every time you pull up a blog of his or an article, it's the same shit. Now it's like there's an AI company in San Francisco. Of course there is, because everyone has to say that because you have to.
You need a leader that actually can drive quote unquote innovation, but innovation in a way that scales for such a big company, right?
I mean, there's 0 to 1, there's 1 to 100, and then there's 100 to 1 billion. And and I think Kress is trying to say, perhaps Ilka is not the best fit for that stage of the company and where it is. He was awesome at the 1 to 100 or maybe 1 to a few thousand.
And this goes back to the Roblox thing too. Like the leader is still there, right? And I was actually wrong about that in some sense. He is basically allowing Manuel to like manage the revenue generation of the platform more aggressively, right? So they're like doing it together. So I was a little bit wrong on that. But the fact of the matter is they needed someone like Manuel to take them to the next stage of growth and level. Like he's not the right guy, right? And so bring in advertising, bring in merch, bring in all this other shit. It's like, if you want to continue to scale and grow and go IPO, that's what you need, right? If that's not what you need, then Ilka can keep doing what he's doing, right?
But they brought the CFO.
CFOs are shit, dude.
Yeah,
CFOs are fucking tails wagging the dog, dude. I mean, there's certain instances when CFOs make a material difference.
No, I mean, the CFO is going to do what Phil said, right? Which is, I'm going to put constraints. I'm going to start to look at a budget. Like when I was at Riot didn't used to have a budget. And when I started in 2018, they were like, all right, we got to put our big boy pants on and we have to have a budget and we have to have a P&L. And everyone freaked out. They were like, oh my God, we just spend millions and millions on trailers because it's cool. And now people had to justify their life. So that's what a CFO does. They come in and they turn it into a real company.
I have to pull back a little bit because I know Mike Williams is going to kick my ass next time he sees me. CFOs are not shit. Blake Jorgensen, for instance, saved EA.
Immediate correction.
Yeah. So Blake, there's instances in which you need a CFO to keep people accountable and pull things together. You know, at EA, it was basically the Canadian mafia that just spent them into oblivion, building up all these fucking teams. It wasn't until Blake came along and fucking just decimated that whole big org and got rid of all this bullshit marketing spend on TV. And look, Blake was a fucking genius in terms of that. But generally speaking, CFOs are the tail wagging the dog, dude. Like,
yeah,
the
they're
leadership
not setting
is not,
strategy.
Yeah. COO, CEO, they're the ones that are really driving actual strategy, product strategy.
Well, I want to ask one question. Why is this article on BBC?
IPO.
Why Supercell comms seems to love not going to gaming. Well, actually, that's not fair. They've gone to our friend at Mobile Gaming Biz. I don't know. They have weird comms, right?
No, they now do only Pocket Gamer, which they advertise on. And so they do only that.
Cress, come on, right? Like the strategy is they want to start getting out in front of the business environment. That's why they hired that CEO. That's for a comm strategy. So comm strategy 101 is comms is only for a few things. One is if you need to raise money. 2 is if you need to do recruiting to get more people in. 3 is if you need to do some sort of like crisis management. 4 is you're laying the groundwork for an IPO. Press is not for players. It is not for consumers. It is for the business environment. I'm going to get shit from comms folks, but that is your comm strategy. So whenever people come to us as Deconstructor of Fun, I'm like, here's our audience, what are you trying to accomplish? And sometimes I tell people, no, like that's not why you come to us. We cannot help you with that goal. So Cress, I wanted to ask, am I crazy by chanting IPO as like the reason why they did this?
Yeah. When you're going that broad, I mean, you're trying to build up interest from investors, right?
Yeah.
And equity investors that may or may not be familiar with the story, but when they see it on BBC, they're like, well, shit, dude, what the hell is this?
It's name dropping, right? Like it's like, now I have to pay attention because somebody at the BBC is talking about this.
I'll tell you though, one thing, like this growth profile, like it is a tough sell, right? I mean, it is a tough sell, dude. Because again, I've said this a million times on the podcast. The problem with gaming in general is it is a hit-driven business, and that makes people very nervous on the investment side because that creates volatility that they don't fucking want, right? That's when you scale over time and build and build and build is a better story for going public. This looks like they got one fucking huge uptick from Brawl Stars, and now it's going through the toilet again, right?
Not really through the toilet, 45 million a month.
I know, but we're comparing it to what, 120 million? And it wasn't for a short period of time. It was for 6 months. This thing was like driving that kind of thing. That's like, it's a huge drop, man. That's like huge. Yeah. Like that's not what people want to see,